The fact that revisiting Letitia Stout and Lori Vallow and Chad Daybell in order to make videos on them was like a day at the spa compared to Sarahboone says a lot about Sarahboone. Particularly since Letitia Stout and Lori Vallow and Chad Daybell were responsible for the demise of children. But of course, they didn't video anything, although Letitia Stout almost tried. So, as I think I mentioned, because there was so much content coming in with Sarahboone, once she figured out she could write letters and they would go on the World Wide Web, it was all over but the crying. There was just a lot of a large influx of content coming in, and now that the dust is settled, I've had some time to think, and I mean, not by choice. It's just still on my mind. And I've had a few reflections and musings that I thought I would share, and it might be all over the place, but we'll see what happens. So the first thing that I noticed about her, and most of it is, of course, it goes in the order of what content we got when, like the 911 call, and then later, at least later, I saw the body cam on the day of, and the car interview and all that. So on the 911 call, Sarah calls the gentleman who's trying to walk her through CPR. I mean, when she's not screaming at him about how they were playing hide and seek. She calls him baby. And she does that with other officers in various body cam footage. Now, to me, that is, I associate that behavior with somebody who is very drunk most of the time and surrounds themselves with very drunk people all of the time. Because that's not how you act. That's how drunk people act around other drunk people who are always around each other. But that shows that you're so used to being drunk and being around drunk people, being in that element, that you can't even get your crap together to when somebody is dead in your apartment, your townhome. My apologies. The other thing that I've noticed about her, and this is from the body cam onto everything really, is so when Deputy Kayla Rodriguez shows up, and she was the first on scene, the first deputy on scene, and she did an amazing job. She was professional, she was organized, she handled Sarah really well, and she was beautiful. She had it all. When she shows up, Sarah immediately starts. She needs her Dr. Pepper. She needs her cigarette. She asks, of course, you can't tell Sarah no. Well, you're going to hear about it again a lot. It was like almost like a tick, just constant, like a spray of bullets of demands and requests. She needed her Dr. Pepper. She wanted a cigarette. She wanted to know when the detectives were going to be there. She was telling Brian not to leave. Don't leave from the 911 call on. And just to me it seems like when she feels that her presumed authority and control is being threatened, that's her knee-jerk reaction. She launches into that very bossy, like she's the boss there, and that must have worked for her, I guess, because it's done with such, it's just her go-to, and it's like an onslaught of bossiness. And so she does that. She does it also to the male officer on scene. She, I think, probably feels like she's not being attended to for a minute, because despite the fact that Sarah told Detectives Kopsel and Lowen that in the interrogation that she can sit without a peep, Sarah cannot sit without a peep. I mean, I get it. I wouldn't want to be alone with her thoughts either. But she just had to tell them that she can just sit without a peep. This is why she didn't want to be put in the big, this is why she wanted to be put in the big bay. So she's sitting there for a second without a peep, and she starts in on the male detective on scene. She tells him that he asks him to please keep her informed because that's how she works. When she says this, she's sitting on the street, cross legged, wearing her call 911 shorts.
If you could like give me whatever updates or anything that you know of, that's just how I work.
Of course, this time she had to be forced to call 911 because she was calling 911 on herself. But it was so horrific, she didn't know what to do. Can you imagine? She called Brian over there, ruined his whole day, although I'm sure he's used to it, and night because she went over there later that night and she wasn't feeding her dogs. And tells Kayla Rodriguez that she had him come over because Kayla was like, who's that guy? And she was like, that's my, she's so dismissive to him too. She's like, that's my ex-husband, my former husband. And later Kayla's like, okay, but don't talk to him. She's like, I won't. Keeps telling him to not to leave, made him come over there, and then tells Kayla Rodriguez that she called him over there because it was so horrific she didn't know what to do. Now, listen, if there ever was a situation that is a that the only choice is call 911, this is it. I mean, what else? What were the other choices? How did she not know what to do? Well, what the fuck is she talking about? So, and when she also tells this the male deputy on scene, aside from that that she's terrified of George's family, and he's like, I'm going to be here as long as you're here, so don't worry. I mean, she's surrounded by officers, but no, she's so terrified of them. When detectives Copsell and Lowen show up, she tells them to, of course, immediately. After making sure that she told them, maybe he had an aneurysm. She doesn't, now she barely knows him. She doesn't know if he has any medical issues. She doesn't know. Listen, he used to live in Philly. Who knows what kind of life he lived, what kind of, basically washing her hands of that whole situation. But she's very quick to tell them that his family calls her the blue-eyed white devil or dragon or both because she wants to make it clear that he is not Caucasian, you see, in case his name and his body lying there doesn't tip them off. She wants them to know that. She didn't tell Kayla Rodriguez that, and she didn't tell the male deputy there, who was also of brown skin. But when Lowen and Copsell showed up, who I guess she assumed were white people, although I don't know. She told them that because that's important. She just wants to make sure that she draws the line in the sand and they know what they're dealing with there. These people are going to come and kill her. Also, more to that, asserting her authority. I mean, in situations where the average person would not assume that they have any authority or control. I mean, if there's just... So, she does that thing where she comes with her questions and she wants to know, she's navigating, she's the boss there. When they put her in cuffs, she immediately starts with, somebody needs to call Brian and I need water. It's like they had nerve. I mean, you killed someone, they're going to arrest you, But no, she's making it like they're her lovers and her secretaries working every day of the week. Was a lover in your secretary. A lot of thoughts on the trial and the allocution. And I mean, the allocution is what it is. Really, it's as expected, I guess. Although, once again, she doesn't surprise me, but she manages to shock me. And I've definitely had a lot of thoughts since the trial itself that I will be having to talk about for a long time. Uh, one of the things that I enjoy about the trial is that Sarah, in her boundless stupidity, obviously found somewhere the fact that, or thought that, one of the defenses for self defense was split second decision, because she said that a few times. She kind of threw it in when it was, I mean, so like 2 or 3 times she was like, yeah, split second decision.
Split second decision.
To me, that's a defense for self defense when you're like an officer of the law and you shoot someone during an altercation or a chase, not when you've zipped someone into a broken suitcase and beat them with a bat.
For the split second reaction that I had,
But Sarah was in luck because although she didn't seem to know what a split second decision was, the jury did. And they barely had time to waddle her ass down to the basement prisoner storage before they had to haul her back up to let her hear guilty. I bet juror number 3 was ready to run down there and just tell her himself.
Juror number 3, is this your choice? Yes, it is. Verdict?
Split second decision. I want you all to know that I was always scared and afraid.
I want you all to know that I, the majority of the time, am always afraid and always scared.
Listen, I don't go to sleep with a dead water bug in my trash, okay? I have to flush that sucker at least 7 times before I will even blink. So don't tell me that you zipped up a man who you claim to be terrified of all the time and who was just claiming to end you into a broken suitcase, moseyed upstairs, and fell asleep. Those blown up pictures of her black eye and the video of the TV and the baseball bat, my guess would be that the state knows how that TV was broken. They just didn't have to go there. I don't know. Now I'll never know. But because it was left unfinished in that way, now the narrative can continue that the abuse went both ways, and Jay even said it in the trial. And I would, if that was true, I would like to have gotten some proof of it, because I personally don't think we saw any. And if George were a female and Sarah was a male, there would be a lot of accusations of victim blaming in this case. And I mean, I just don't. George never got angry. You could wake this man up in the middle of the night and arrest him, and he wasn't angry. Drunk, not angry. Taunted, not angry. Yelled at, not angry. Forced to sleep on the floor, not angry. He's the only one of the 2 of them who I saw cry. And I know that the state's job was to prove that she was not acting in self-defense. I know that. But I mean, it would have been nice to know. That's all I'm saying. I don't know. Luckily, we will have Lori Vallow and all of her nonsense to distract us. Let me know your thoughts on whatever. And thank you guys so much for leaving really funny and really smart and supportive comments. I appreciate it a lot. Bye.